table, I now call this meeting of City Council to order.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The City of Barrie acknowledges the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge the Wendat Nation Huron who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century. We're dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognizing the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this land. We're committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. You may be seated. Welcome to Barrie City Council this fine evening, Monday the 8th, and I'm sorry we got started a few minutes late. We were just finishing one of our advisory committees beforehand, or actually not advisory committees, one of our reference committees beforehand, and so we were a little late getting in. We're going to start this evening with our student mayors, and I'm going to ask that Emma Vernon, who's beside me from Innisdale Secondary School, who's been with us for the last 3 weeks, and you started on the 25th of October, and your term of office is ending this evening. So I would like to invite you up to the podium to provide comments about your experiences as student mayor. So Emma, the chair is yours.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So I would just like to take a moment and thank all of City Council for this amazing opportunity as student mayor. You have all taught me so much during these council meetings through your insightful conversations. A discussion that stood out to me on my first day was the topic of the housing market crisis. The speech Mayor Nuttall made about how the council is trying to reduce the housing crisis in the city of Barrie was very insightful and reassuring to know that they are working to solve the problem for my future generation. I especially thank Mayor Nuttall for all the opportunities he has provided me with, in particular the ability to present the award to the Hindquarter Meets during their opening ceremony. So just thank you all of you for all your support.
Emma, far more eloquent than the actual mayor. So I'm glad you're not of voting and running age yet, and I'm fearful when you are. On behalf of the City of Barrie and on behalf of Council, I just wanted to give you the certificate of congratulations and thank you for your service as student mayor.
Thank you.
And if your family would like to, oh, you've got way ahead of me. See, look at that, smarter people than I.
Thank you.
And congratulations on behalf of Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Can I have a 3-week term?
Yeah. Deputy Mayor's asked for a 3-week term. Yeah. Commitment made. I love this program. The Student Mayor program is awesome. It's such an opportunity for young people to see what's going on. But just in that speech, hearing about what matters to Emma, and is obviously a representation of what matters to an age group, and seeing that housing crisis when you're a teenager, and hearing that, I think, is actually really, really helpful for this council. It provided a lot of good feedback, so thank you for that. I'm now going to call on two new student mayors to join us this evening to be sworn in. And Madame Deputy Clerk, I think you'll be conducting the ceremony. So I'm going to call upon Tola Olakoya, representing École Secondaire Romeo Dallaire. Bienvenue. And Sarah Reed, representing Allendale Heights Public School, to come up with Tara MacArthur.
I, Tola Ulukoya, have been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of November 8th, 2023 to November 22nd, 2023, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability, that I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward, or promise thereof, for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner, that I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
I, Sarah Reed, having been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of November 8th, 2023 to November 22nd, 2023, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability, that I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof, for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner, that I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Okay, I'm going to stay here for a second. Sarah, you're going to sign your name right there. Tola, I'm going to get you to sign there. Okay, this one. I'll just sign this, and you can take it back.
Very proud parents, and you don't know how proud you should be, because the word pecuniary does not get pronounced right by any of the 11 members around this table, but both of the student mayors did. So well done, well done. Welcome to City Council. We're going to do some introductions your worships to all of council. We'll start with Councillor Riepma from Ward 1 and go around the table.
Well, welcome to both of you to City Council. I'm Claire Riepma, and I'm the councillor for Ward 1.
I am Craig Nixon. I am the councillor for Ward 2, and also welcome and congratulations.
Congratulations, Omatola and Sarah. Well done tonight. Enjoy the next couple of weeks. I'm Anne Marie Kungle. I'm the councillor for Ward 3.
Okay, yes, congratulations. I'm Amy Corser, councillor for Ward 4 for the City of Barrie, and I hope you have a very exciting 3 weeks.
Congratulations to both of you. I'm Deputy Mayor Thompson and the Ward 5 councillor as well.
Congratulations and welcome. My name is Ngusi, Ward 6 councillor.
Congratulations and welcome. I'm Councillor Gary Harvey in Ward 7 and actually the home of your high school.
Thank you. And congratulations, Sarah and Tola. My name is Jim Harris. I'm the councillor for Ward 8, and Allendale Public School is right in the middle of Ward 8. So welcome, Sarah. Welcome to both of you.
Sergio Morales, Ward 9 councillor. Welcome to council, your worships.
Councillor Hamilton.
Welcome to you both. Welcome to you both. My name is Bryn Hamilton. I'm the Ward 10 councillor and looking forward to seeing you both in person next week.
Well, thank you, members of council. Thank you, your worships, for joining us this evening. I know that you'll have a lot of fun over the next few weeks and learn lots, just as Emma has over her term of council as well. And so welcome to the council chambers, and I look forward to getting to know both of you. You have two former student mayors around this table. Both myself and Councillor Morales were student mayors in the city of Barrie. One of us a lot longer ago than the other one, but nonetheless, both of us served in this capacity as well. And so we will actually proceed with the agenda. Deputy Mayor Thompson and Councillor Ngusi will be able to help you through where we're at in the agenda and show you what's going on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them as well, as they'll be able to work through that with you. We're going to move on to the next order of business, which is the confirmation of the minutes. The first item on the agenda, as I said, is the confirmation of minutes. The minutes of the City Council meeting held on October 25th, 2023 and November 1st, 2023 have circulated. Are there any corrections from members of council? Seeing none, we're going to consider those adopted as printed and circulated. And members of council, we're now going to move on to committee reports. And that is you, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Riepma, that the first general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Riepma that the first general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be received. 23-G-247, confidential personal information matter, executive management team, EMT performance review. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, and it carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Riepma, that Section A of the second general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Riepma, that Section A of the second general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be received. 23-G-248, report of the Affordability Committee dated October 18th, 2023. Are there any comments or questions with regards to Section A of the second meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor, and it carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Riepma, that Section B of the second general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Riepma, the Section B of the second general committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted. 23G249, Municipal Heritage Registry 194, Collier Street. 23-G-250, amendment to the zoning bylaw 315, Mapleview Drive West. 284-5146, Ontario Limited, Ward 7. 23-G-251, no parking anytime, Bateau Street, Ward 6, 23-G-252, the new zoning bylaw update. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the items that are in Section B of the second General Committee report? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rima, that Section D of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted.
Thought there was a letter missing in the alphabet there. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson and seconded by Councilor Rietman. The Section D of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted. 23-G-254, deferred from Affordability Committee dated September 27th, 2023. Memorandum review of right-of-way design standards for Salem and Hewitt areas. Are there any questions? Councilor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Nettle. Just a quick comment. I just want to commend everybody involved in getting this far. Members of council, staff, everybody. It was a long road, or in which case we should call it a long cycle track to get here. This is a big deal. Mayor Nettle, I remember back in March, April, you spoke about, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but like somebody like, I don't know, shouted at you or something when you had your kids on, when you were cycling with them, and you said, "Am I a bad father?" or something. So I think, which A, the answer is no, and B, the answer is we need more active transportation. I'm not going to leave that question lingering. And B is we need more infrastructure like this. So thank you, especially to the members of the north end of Barrie. This is going to go a long way in the south end. And as I spoke to you, Councilor Rietma, and everybody else who would ask, this is going to lay down the framework to change the way we do reconstruction projects up in the north end. So I also wanted to specifically point out members in the north end. And with that, Mayor Nettle, obviously other members may speak, but I'll just call a recorded vote.
As the recorded vote's been requested, Madam Clerk, but just before, are there any other questions or comments with regards to the motion prior to the recorded vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I'm going to start with Councilor Rietma.
Yes.
Councilor Nixon.
Yes.
Councilor Kungle.
Yes.
Councilor Corser.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Councilor Negussi.
Yes.
Councilor Harvey.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor Morales.
Yes.
Councilor Hamilton.
Yes.
And Mayor Nuttall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rietma, that Section E of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Rietma, the Section E of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted. This is 23-G-255, the Lobbyist Registry edition of special interest groups. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a recorded vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Again, I'm going to start with Councilor Rietma.
Yes.
Councilor Nixon.
Yes.
Councilor Kungle.
Yes.
Councilor Corser.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Councilor Negussi.
Yes.
Councilor Harvey.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor Morales.
Yes.
Councilor Hamilton.
Yes.
And Mayor Nuttall.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rietma, that Section F of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Rietma, the Section F of the second General Committee report dated November 1st, 2023, as circulated, be adopted. 23-G-256, referred by motion 23-G-256, memorandum concerning this week in Barrie Legislative Ads in Barrie Today, and 23-G-257, referred by motion 23-G-257, submission from Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Green World Construction, Inc., report and master plan in support of community infrastructure and housing accelerating order 175 and 199 Essa Road and 50 Wood Street. Are there any comments or questions with regards to the referrals? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. And we are complete the committee reports, and we're going to move on to direct motions. That's you, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson. To shorten the timelines, Council can override a veto of an amendment to the budget. Whereas Section 284.16 Sub 4 of the Municipal Act provides that the head of council may, in accordance with Regulation 530-22, veto an amendment to the budget passed by council resolution, and whereas Section 284.16 Sub 5 of the Municipal Act, council may, in accordance with Regulation 530-22, override the head of council's veto if 2/3 of the members of council vote to override the veto within 15 days of the mayor's vote. And whereas Section 284.16 Sub 5 and Regulation 530/22 of the Municipal Act, council may in a year pass a resolution to shorten the 15-day override period, and therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Barrie shorten the time period to override any veto of the Mayor from 15 days to 5 days for the City of Barrie operating and capital budgets and the service partner budgets.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. It's moved by Councillor Harvey and seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson. Whereas Section 284.16 of the Municipal Act provides that the head of council may, in accordance with Regulation 530/22, veto an amendment to the budget passed by council resolution. And whereas Section 284-16 of the Municipal Act, council may, in accordance with Regulation 530/22, override the head of council's veto if 2/3 of the members of council vote to override the veto within 15 days of the mayor's veto. And whereas Section 284.16 and Regulation 530/22 of the Municipal Act, council may in a year pass a resolution to shorten the 15-day override period. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Barrie shorten the time period to override any veto of the Mayor from 15 days to 5 days for the City of Barrie operating and capital budgets and the service partner budgets. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the direct motion on the floor by Councillor Harvey? Councillor Kungle.
Thank you, and I'm wondering if it's just in the benefit more for the public because it is new, tied to the strong mayor's powers. I think these are great motions put forward. It might be great if there's any context you could give now or later, so I'm not putting you on the spot this evening. But as to, while we're considering these, what does that even mean? So should we, I'll call it appeal or vote after that shortened period of time? Does that change your ability, Mayor Nuttall? Should we be changing something that you've kind of made a decision on? Is there also a buffer or time frame between you maybe being of interest to change it back? So I think it would be great, as we're talking about a brand new process, if there's any more context that could be given to this about how that would play out when we're talking about shortening time frames.
Yeah. She has her hand up? Oh, okay. Thank you. So we'll start with Councillor Kungle, and then it'll be Councillor Hamilton. With regards to the motion on the floor, I think that the mover had answered quite a number of the questions on this with the media, but I don't think everyone gets to see that at home. So it is a very good question. With regards to the overall process, it has changed. It's changed through the strong mayor powers that were given to all of the municipalities that received them. Our staff, as you know, start working on the budget in, I think, May. Is that right? Yeah, it's May it gets started. The work starts on the budget. These powers weren't put in place until July 1st. And so we look at this as a bit of an interim year because essentially the budget becomes the mayor's. Having said all that, our goal, I think, around this table, my goal, and I hope your goal, is that we are all involved in this process the same way we have been in the past. And we've actually extended the budget process to include now the Finance Committee meeting. So we're used to just go to General Committee and then to City Council. We now have Finance Committee. I believe a week later it's General Committee, and a week after that it's City Council. So we now have an additional amount of time to be able to consider the budget, make amendments, speak with colleagues about what matters, what doesn't matter, and get all of our answers from our public servants who put a lot of work into it. Then after that, there's one of the changes in the strong mayors was essentially that the mayor, if the budget isn't liked by council, council can override the mayor, and then the mayor has a chance to, or before that has a chance to override council, and then council has a chance to override mayor. So this is just shortening those two periods, but our overall budget process is considerably lengthier than it has been previously. To put in more context, we also have separated out the partners from our capital and operating, what we're actually responsible for versus what we're not responsible for. So the second part of the process also has its own 3 weeks of consideration. And so we're now into 6 meetings of consideration where previously we were in 2. So I hope that gives all of the context looking for. I'm not sure everyone understand that at home, but
if I may, in follow-up, thank you for that. I think it's one helpful to hear and kind of put that in context because you can never communicate enough, right? But 2, I guess my follow-up is specific to the particular scenario that this motion is about, which is shortening the time frame for council to be able to appeal or vote to change it. And maybe it's more of a question for the clerk or yourself, Mayor Nuttall, but then can you explain how that applies? So is there now, I think the public is aware that for some things that we motion on, we can't readdress it until 6 months later unless there's a special motion that comes forward. So how does this new process, so let's say we go through, you make a decision, it comes to council within now a shortened time frame if we support this. Can it keep going in that cycle, or do you have a window of time you have to wait to maybe change it back? So how exactly does anything get revisited if you don't like a decision that council makes after you've motioned on it?
So my understanding is that if council makes a decision, I have a certain amount of time to be able to veto that decision, which I think in this case we're talking, I think 5 days. Is that correct? From 15 to 5, and then council's the same thing back. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, the mayor's veto period under the Strong Mayors Act is 10 days, and I think we're going to be reducing that to 5. So what happens is if after the initial budget is passed, if there's an amendment that the mayor disagrees with, he has the opportunity within, right now, 10 days to veto that amendment. If the council doesn't agree with the mayor's veto, they can override his veto within 5 days of him vetoing whatever amendment. But it'll be done like after the council meeting on December 6th. It wouldn't be like after general committee. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit.
I think we're talking about the same process. I'm looking at then what next. So is that the end of an issue?
Sorry.
Or what's the period of time in which that could be revisited?
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood.
After that process.
So after the veto and override process takes place, so if council by 2/3 of the majority overrides the mayor's veto, then it would be that decision. So council, that would be the final decision. But if the mayor vetoes the amendment and council doesn't override it, then that amendment essentially didn't happen.
Thank you. So the past process tied to 6 months around addressing an issue to revisit it, does that get impacted by things that go through the strong mayor's powers motions?
No, this only applies to the budget. Any other type of motion from council would still be subject to that 6 months reconsideration.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I think that's a great point of clarity. And I'm not sure if CAO Prowse had further context to that or not. Okay. Okay.
I think that question was just answered by the,
Yeah.
by the clerk. Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, no problem. And Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Nettle. I do have a question. I want to predicate my question by first just saying, I mean, I think the level of collaboration that Mayor Nettle has set for this council is top bar. So I'm asking this question, and I just want to make it known that I don't have any concerns about the level of collaboration. I don't have any concerns about the introduction of strong mayor powers. I don't think it's going to actually change the processes or the teamwork that we've established amongst council and through your leadership. But my question is just in terms of the rationale behind this. So I understand, you know, and I'm all for efficiency, but I'm just trying to play this out. If we come to a point in time, December 6th, you decide to, veto a council decision, and that's within your right to do so. And then it gives us 5 days if 2/3 of the council then want to override your utilized veto powers. To me, that 5 days is a pretty short time frame. I mean, I'm assuming if we get to this point, whatever's being discussed is probably going to be a pretty, contentious or tricky item that might require further information, discussion with staff, discussion with stakeholders. And so I truly just want to understand the rationale between shortening it from the 15 to 5 days. And if there's a risk or something we're worried about from a timeline perspective or anything else with maintaining that 15-day threshold that has been set by government.
Mr. Miller.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Hamilton, and through you, Mayor Nettle. So when the province drafted the Strong Mayors Act, particularly related to the budget, they didn't consult with the municipalities. They did the best that they could. But they did leave an opportunity to change the timelines to fit into the municipality's budget cycle. The reason we're doing this, as Mayor Nettle pointed out, we didn't learn of this powers the city was getting until July 1st. But really, we're trying to make sure that our capital budget gets approved by council in December. And the reason we want it approved in December it's really trying to get better prices. There are actually a few RFPs that are out to market that are dependent on the budget being passed around this time. So we have shortened the period, but I would say it's not out of line as to what's been done in the past. While council will be approving this budget hopefully on December 6th, it's not really deemed approved until that veto period has passed. So, which means we don't have an approved capital plan until right now. We've shortened it to, believe, 5 days, so it would be around the 11th or 12th. If we keep this 30-day period plus the other, 15 days, we're well into the end of January, end of December into January. So from the staff's perspective, this is strategically done really to try and get that capital budget approved so that we could benefit from better pricing.
Councillors,
okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that answer. I guess I still struggle that 10 days is going to be so advantageous that we're going to, benefit from some improved costing from a 2-week period. For me, to weigh that against the potential risk that council would get into trying to get our ducks in order to make sure 5 days allows us enough time to really do our due diligence if we're getting to this point in conversation. I understand having, target timelines and deadlines and trying to meet those, but formally changing timelines here, I will say I'm a little bit apprehensive, but thank you. I appreciate your commentary there and the very clear explanation. Would be interested to hear what other councillors around the table are thinking and feeling on this one.
Councillor Corser.
I guess to follow up with Councillor Hamilton's questions, with a 5-day window for a veto when we only meet every 7 days, is that an emergency meeting then? How would that play out in process? Through you, Mayor, I guess to Deputy, the clerk, yeah.
Through you, Mayor Nettle, to Councillor Corser. Under the procedural bylaw, council can call a special meeting within 24 hours, I believe. And so if 2/3 of the majority, and it's 2/3 majority of members of council, that can warrant a call of a special council meeting or the mayor. So if council was inclined to override a veto, if that happens, we could call a special council meeting for that to happen with the 2/3 majority.
Okay, just to follow up, just to be clear, because as trying to absorb all this information and the numbers and the timelines and the vetoes, and so if, say, a mayor, municipal mayor, decides to passes something through strong mayors, and the council, 2/3 of council does not agree with that, do you need 2/3 council to call that meeting?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, yes, you do.
Okay, so 2/3 of council would have to, like, all in conjunction by letter, email, phone call that meeting with the council. I'm just trying to understand the process because it's a very small time window.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Corser, if there was an inkling of members of council to override a veto, and a list was provided of the members of council, I would contact each member of council just to confirm that they want the special council meeting, and then we would be able to proceed.
Okay, yeah, I guess I too, again, echo with Councillor Hamilton. I think that 10 to 15 down to 5 is a big jump, and as we're working through some heavy duty binders of information, I think that we would allow to have a little more information, to have a little more space to actually make those kind of decisions.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I would just point out to the way that our budget process is working this year. So we are doing cities operations and capital first, and then in January you'll be the service partners budgets would be tabled. In theory, you could take a look at operations if there was an issue that there was still outstanding. We're hoping that doesn't happen. You'll solve it this time, but technically that's something that there's an opportunity still there.
Okay, it's through you, Marina, to Mr. Miller. So through the process of the operational budget, if there's something that's outstanding still that we're not comfortable with or new information comes to light, we can actually revisit that when we're looking at the service partner budget. Am I understanding that correctly?
Technically correct.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. That adds a little more confidence to the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to clarify a couple of items on the way through to other members. So with regards to the binder, this is after we've done Finance Committee approval, General Committee approval, City Council approval, and then after the hypothetical where the mayor's powers are used, then this 5 days would start. And because we are doing the budget the way that we're doing, the same 2/3 to override in that 5-day period would actually extend through to the end of the period where we're dealing with the service partners and their requests. And so the imminency of this timeline is, I don't think, as much of an issue, but we do need to give the indication to staff, if they're going to be able to jump in and grab lower pricing, we do need to give the indication that yes, the plan is to ratify the budget and proceed with whatever RFPs, et cetera, are out to get pricing to do work. So anyway, well, it's a confusing year because it started in the middle of our process, right? These changes from the province were in the middle of our budget process. Councillor Harvey and then Councillor Morales.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Actually, I was almost going to reiterate what you were just talking about because I think we were starting to lose our way with some of the thoughts and questions that this timeline that we're discussing is an additional timeline added on the back end. When it comes to our process of how we get through this budget, it's going to mirror exactly what we did last year. This is an additional period of time that they've added on to the back end that could delay things. I don't expect it will, but it could. And that's why when we're doing our motions and amendments on the fly at our meetings leading up to this, I don't see that anybody is even going to need 5 days to figure out whether they like it or they don't like it and decide to then go down this road or not. But I'll be quite honest with you, with how smooth our budget process went last year, I'm not expecting this timeline to even kick in. But obviously, if it did, our staff have advised that there is some financial implications that could fall into play here, and that's the whole reason behind this.
Councilor Morales, you want your hand up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Nettle. Like Councilor Harvey, I kind of was processing a lot of what you were saying. For me, this is the question on the table. Is 5 days enough for myself and maybe other members of council on their own to consider whether we want to challenge a mayoral veto? That's the question, not the budget, not the preface. And so for me, that's yes. And so I'm going to vote in favor of this, and here's why. I know you said it, but it needs to be said again. We have so much more opportunity to process budgets. Not just process the material, ask questions of staff, and ask you questions. You have a lot more powers, and I think it's fair to hold you accountable with questions and get those answers. So we have Finance Committee, we have General Committee, we have City Council. So that is something that we didn't have before. And is 5 days enough, as Councilor Harvey just said, but I'm going to just reiterate it because there's lots of confusion on this one, and I want to share my opinions. 5 days is enough for us to wake up and go, our mayor just vetoed us. So 5 days, my issue is I usually respond too quickly. So for this one, I think 5 days is plenty of time. Also, 2/3 is always confusing. Doing the math, because we have 11 members of council, technically, this would mean that 8 members of council would have to want to challenge your veto. So essentially, you'd be on if that number held, you'd be on an island of you plus 2 others. So you would have had, and I say this procedurally and kindly, you would have had to really mess up to have 8 members of your council challenge your veto. And unless I'm mistaken, I don't know who to ask, whether it's Mr. Miller or Ms. Cook, the strong mayor powers for veto specifically are a mayor can veto things if a council votes in favor or against something that is not in line with the provincial strategic plan. It's specifically housing. Like, you can't just veto anything just because you want to within reason. So I just want to, what I'm trying to do is, I know it's a little bit ambiguous and the province was very ambiguous. Yeah. So these are severe issues, and I think between General Committee to Council, a lot of that filtering and agreement is going to happen. So I will be supportive of this. And specifically, Mayor Nuttall, again, I've been around 9 years now. The checks and balances you have put in place give me confidence in supporting something like this, whether it be flag racings, invite to events, or other motions. There's no pattern of behavior that I see that would give me any concern for this. So I will be supportive of this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Maybe my thought is kind of just a practical side, but and again, I don't have any concerns. I think we have time to consume the materials and prepare our thoughts and amendments, motions. That's all there. I just was curious, and yeah, 5 days. If that veto, there's a lot of ifs here, right? So if it happens, if somebody thinks it should be overturned, my curiosity was around, as far as the efficiency, effectiveness, and economics of it. You know, was 7 days considered in the sense that staff are already gathering, therefore that would be the time you would bring everybody to that moment of the override being considered, versus having another separate call to action that I'm sure has a cost to it, versus already being together. But I'm not at the point of putting together an amendment to the motion, but I just wonder if that has been discussed.
Was there a consideration put forward for 7 days instead of 5 days, is the question from Councillor Harris?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, again, it's really tied to trying to get procurements done on capital as quickly as possible. So that was really, we thought the 5 days was a reasonable timeline, and that's why we brought that forward. If you add more time onto it, certainly that's your prerogative. It's just slow, just a few days less that we have to get the procurements completed.
Thanks. Maybe one follow-up. Is there a specific time in these months that procurement timeframes are particularly important, versus like a day or two here or there, that it's so critical that these days matter really, really to a great regard?
I would, through you, Mayor Nuttall, I would say the faster they're completed, the faster homes get built. my friends in IGM who tell us we don't go fast enough in procurement because they want to get out there to start building. So I think it's a combination of, we want to lock down the prices. End of the year, there's procurements out right now that are structured in such a way that the vendors will hold the prices to the end of the year. And then it's January 1st, usually prices go up. But I would say the other piece of that is the sooner we get it done, the sooner staff can start completing the work.
Okay, thank you. So I heard January 1st is a real key date. I'm also interested and encouraged by the excitement to move things quickly and how important it is to efficiently, effectively move items through process so we can save money and get things done. So I appreciate that perspective and look forward to seeing how efficient we'll be as a community to get things done. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor Hamilton, your hand is up. Do you have a question for staff or members of council?
Apologies, that's just an old hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Any other? Oh, Councillor Nixon.
Thank you.
After that, Councillor Riepma.
Oh, thank you. Mayor Nuttall, just to clarify, we say 5 days. We're calendar or business days? I'm assuming it's. No, I would assume business days, but.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, generally it's business days under municipal legislation.
Okay, and seeing as though we're shortening timeframes anyways, and we get now we're getting into hours. If it was to all of a sudden come up at 5 p.m. on a Monday, does that day count? Is it now are we down to 4? How would that work?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, the time of day doesn't matter. It would just be that business day.
Okay, thank you. And one more quick one, and just to clarify, is this change only to this year versus, or would this process be going onward, forward?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Nixon, they would council has to vote on these timelines on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Riepma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to support this. I was kind of concerned about it. I had some conversations with staff about it, and I'm satisfied. I think, as Councillor Harvey says, we, like every other time we've done a budget, we have the meetings set up to do that. In fact, we have one additional meeting this time. And as Councillor Harvey pointed out, this comes after those kind of discussions. So first of all, I don't expect a veto or an override, but it seems to me that if that kind of situation arises, we still can manage it with this timeline.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm actually really encouraged by this conversation. Like, if we step back from this conversation about veto powers or, budget itself, a board of directors asking questions about governance issues and accountability of the laws surrounding governance and transparency is awesome and a very, 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 very healthy state of affairs, because we're navigating through things that in other municipalities have become very personal, and you folks are just taking a very business approach to it. So thank you for doing that. I think it's very, very positive going forward. No matter what the outcome of the vote may or may not be, I think that's a very, very positive thing, and is a sign of a healthy process for the city and for this board of directors. Secondly, I guess I'll just give my final comment on the why. We are living in kind of two worlds here as we're moving towards our budget, the one under the new regulations, the one that was started prior to the new regulations beginning. And I felt personally that I didn't think it would be appropriate to take over the budgeting process this year. One, because every day that I'm in office, I learn something new from you folks, as well as from our public servants, as well as from people in the community. But two, because the process had already begun, and I thought that it was important that that be carried through. So we're kind of merging these two things of having a budget, but also adhering to the new process mandated by the provincial government, and straddling both sides of the fence, if you will. So for me, I don't anticipate this being used, but as a governance structure, you need to be ready for the worst case scenario, not the best case scenario. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and all of those items. And thank you to staff for really digging in on making sure the timelines fit when the RFPs would be coming to an end and when our pricing would fall off, because we ask you to save money every week. We ask you to do a lot more with a lot less, as CAO Prowse would say, and this is an example of trying to do that. So thank you for doing that, for making sure these timelines were brought before us and we didn't fall behind on it. I think it's not just good governance around this table, but good governance inside of our public service to make sure that happens. So I will call the vote on the direct motion. All those in favor? And it carries. And that is 13.1. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson to shorten the 30-day period for passing amendments to the budget. Whereas Regulation 530 for 22 of the Municipal Act provides that Council may pass a resolution to shorten the 30-day period to pass amendments to the budget after the budget is provided by the head of Council, and whereas members of Council will be receiving the city's operating and capital budgets on November 15th, 2023, and the service partners' budgets on January 17th, 2024, and therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Barrie shorten the 30-day time period to pass amendments to the City of Barrie operating and capital budgets to December the 6th, 2023, and service partner budgets to January 31st, 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. It's moved by Councillor Harvey and seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson. Whereas Regulation 530/22 of the Municipal Act provides that Council may pass a resolution to shorten the 30-day period to pass amendments to the budget after the budget is provided by the head of Council. Whereas members of Council will be receiving the city's operating and capital budgets on November 15th, 2023, and the service partner budgets on January 17th, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the City of Barrie shorten the 30-day time period to pass amendments to the City of Barrie operating capital budgets to December 6, 2023, and service partner budgets to January 31st, 2024. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Hopefully we don't need a big, long discussion on this one, too, because I think it is basically the same rationale as the first direct motion. I just don't see the necessity to require 30 days to bring amendments forward, especially when we've got our set timelines as we have in previous years when it comes to our budget dates. And again, by allowing it to go up to 30 days would really put a strain on staff in trying to get procurements out in the appropriate timeline and effectively cost the taxpayers countless hundreds of thousands of dollars, I suspect. But that's the rationale behind this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions or comments with regards to Council? Seeing none, all those in favor? And it carries. That completes our direct motions for the evening, and we're going to move on to presentations. We have one presentation this evening concerning Clean Up Barrie and the possible expansion of its outreach. So I'll invite Jen. Okay, we'll invite Jen. Slykehouse, thank you for helping me, because clearly I needed it. From Clean Up Barrie to approach the podium for the presentation. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My name is Jen. We'll stick with that. And I've been a volunteer with Clean Up Barrie since 2020. I've been cleaning up litter ever since I worked for the City of Kitchener Parks Department back when I was a summer student. I do enjoy keeping nature clean, our environment enjoyable and safe, especially for kids, and frankly, the sight of litter just drives me crazy. Clean Up Barrie was established by Barrie Families Unite during the COVID lockdowns when the highly successful City Spring Into Clean program was placed on hold for a couple of years. A group of citizens concerned about litter in our community formed a volunteer group, and since then it has grown to over 1,000 members. And it was officially incorporated this year as a not-for-profit organization. So far this year, our group has cleaned up over 500 bags of garbage in 90 different locations across the city, resulting in thousands of dollars saved to the city and about 300 volunteer hours. Since 2020, there have been over, I'd say around 1,000 bags in 110 plus locations with 500 volunteer hours, and the savings to the city are uncalculated at this point. How have we achieved this? It takes partners in our community, and we are really thankful for their support, whether it's via grants or supplies, volunteer participation. Their contribution has significantly helped our organization and the success that we've seen over the past couple of years. And I would really like to thank them and for their continued support, and hopefully they continue to partner with us in the future. I'd also like to send a special thank you to some of our ward councillors, Councillor Cursor, Kungle, and Hamilton, as they organized their own additional cleanups this fall that we all participated in. I will note it was all the women councillors that participated. The most impactful partnership that we've had so far to date has been with Ryan's Hope and the members of the Simcoe County Alliance to End Homelessness as we address litter in active and abandoned encampment sites across the city. Now in its third year, we've created a peer support program where members of the unhoused community and those facing barriers to employment assisted with significant litter cleanups in these encampment areas. Volunteers received an honorarium in the form of gift cards, and we cleaned up about 10 tons of garbage in 2023 alone. This greatly assisted the residents to keep their homes clean while providing a sense of purpose and value to participants who greatly appreciated the extra financial support and the opportunity to give back to their community. This also created additional savings to the city, and hopefully it starts to change the image of those people living in the rough. It demonstrated that you can have a large impact in a short period of time when people are empowered and community comes together. And our group would like to send a special thank you to those groups and businesses which supported this program, and we urge the city to support Clean Up Barrie so we can continue to expand this program. Where does the litter come from? Every year we ask members of the public where the litter hotspots are. Main roads are identified, such as Mapleview, Bayfield, Ferndale, Tiffin, Essa, Duckworth. And rural roads when you're exiting the city, Salem, Penetanguishene, and the west end of Dunlop Street. Parks like Bursey and Lampman are continuously being cleaned up around high schools, the college area, and in ravines. Sorry, Council, but nowhere is immune to litter. Litter may not be the top of mind for most residents, like traffic, because most of the garbage cleaned up is what you can't see, but it impacts every city street, city facility, park, and trail. Where does it come from? Tim Hortons and McDonald's cups. This is a bag that I just cleaned up on the weekend on the North Shore Trail. 90% of it was Tim Hortons cups that were discarded along the walking trail there, which is really sad because people go there to enjoy nature and then leave their garbage. Additional comes from the casual litterer, and the scary thing is that when you walk around or drive around and see litter, there's probably 10 times the amount that you don't see, and that's the stuff that I find. It could be estimated that there are at least 5 million pieces of litter in our city environment right now, not including cigarette butts, which is the #1 most littered item in the world. Clean Up Barrie and our initiatives to tackle litter connect directly to Council's strategic priorities. Addressing litter helps keep public spaces clean and safe for everybody, and ensures everyone has access to these public spaces, particularly our green spaces, which are essential for community wellness. Establishing an employment program creates jobs for those who face barriers to traditional employment and provides financial support to those who need it. Additionally, the city should be seeking the support of the province to address this issue and to help keep Barrie beautiful. Having a litter-free city is important to attract new residents, tourism, businesses, and developers. Who wants to live, work, and play and do business in a city covered with garbage? My recommendations to City Council, aka provide direction to staff, on providing proper waste services in areas that don't receive it. Continue to support our litter employment program that we've piloted with Ryan's Hope this year. It's a very popular program that a lot of municipalities in the states have taken on, and cities like Peterborough and Sudbury are also initiating these. Provide proper disposal in high traffic areas such as community centers, plazas, bus stops, and other high traffic areas. And to establish designated smoking areas in the city and include proper cigarette butt disposal. People are going to smoke, and cigarette butts are the #1 most littered item. It doesn't make sense to tell people not to smoke and then they just throw their butts on the ground anyways. Expand the Spring Into Clean program to have it in the fall as well. Close to 17,000 members of the Barrie community collected about 6.5 tons of garbage in 2 days in 140 locations at this year's Spring Into Clean. What our group achieved in 6 months, the city's program achieved in 2 days, thus reinforcing the importance of having a fall program to get it cleaned up before the snow covers everything. The city's Adopt a Trail and Park program has been under review by the city for the past couple of years. This should probably be reevaluated, as you could get other groups to adopt these areas and take care of the litter. Prioritizing litter and waste prevention in the Barrie and Simcoe Counties' long-term waste management strategies. The Barrie's long-term waste management strategy, the one that I found online, is from 2012. It's in serious need of an update. I know they're usually good for 20 years, but times have changed and things need to be addressed. Establish a vacant land renewal program. Private property waiting to be developed is a liability and it collects litter. The city should be encouraging private land to be utilized as a public asset while it's waiting to be developed. And most importantly, support Clean Up Barrie. We've already started on some of these recommendations, but the city's support is crucial for us to continue our good work. Before I conclude, I would like to thank those city staff who have assisted our group by arranging for and picking up the litter that we've bagged, and to Service Barrie for creating the dozens of work orders that I've submitted to them. Also, thank you to the active members of the community who have participated in the events, or to those people who go out on their own to clean up. Lastly, I would like to thank my counselor, Reetma, for inviting our group to speak today. For anyone looking to support or learn more about our group, you can join our Facebook page, send us an email. We do have a donation campaign, or you can sponsor a cleanup in your community. Reach out, we even provide supplies, and most importantly, volunteer. It's the volunteers that make our group successful. Like all of you, I've decided to make Barrie my home, and I hope you will help me keep it clean for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation today. Are there any questions around the table? We're going to start with 3, but we're going to start with the inviter. Councillor Ritma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jen, for your presentation. And thank you to you and your organization for all the work that you do. It's thankless and it's always repetitive, but you've done great work so far. I guess my question to you is, excuse me, do you have an ask of this council tonight? Is there something that we could do that would, I don't know, move you to the next level and pick up a whole lot more garbage?
Yes, a financial grant would do wonders for that.
Well, I think that's, you won't get one without asking. And maybe I could ask staff, do we have a program where they could apply to get some kind of funding? I know we fund arts groups and sports groups. Do we have an opportunity for this group as well?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Ritt, my understanding is none of our grant programs would address this. I think there is the opportunity, should a councillor wish to do it through their ward-specific funding. That would be a possibility, but our current grant programs don't recognize this type of venture for funding.
Okay, I don't have any more questions, but I think it is something that we ought to consider because a little money here would go an awful long way. So maybe I'll bring something forward at a later date to see what we can do there.
Thank you, Councillor Rietman. And I think I had Councillor Kungle next.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall, through you. Thanks, Jen. And it has been lovely volunteering and meeting residents from across the city, and even with my own ward, and seeing the passion for what brings them out. And when we talk about pride of a city, I mean, that's a big one, right? Like most of my resident complaints are usually, can you get a larger garbage receptacle? Can you pick it up? And flagging areas. So this is a heavy engagement piece for residents, and I want to thank you for leading in this space. I think it was a very informative presentation, and I think it helps to put a lot of merit and credibility behind a program that some might just say, oh, people are picking up litter, but the impact factor, you've done a beautiful job summarizing. So I do have a couple of questions, and maybe I'll look at it more. I'll start with the clerk, but maybe I'll socialize kind of where I'm hoping to go with this conversation. To Councillor Rietman's question about the different categories where we have grants that exist is to support not-for-profits, but there have been gaps I think we've talked about and realized. So we've had Urban Pantry come forward, we've had Living Green come forward, they've had to tuck themselves into sports and recreation. So I think it would be great because I believe, this type of work ties directly to a strategic area around climate action and healthy communities. And so I'm wondering if this type of conversation has an appropriate committee that the clerk would recommend, and or I believe annually after the budget or sometime around December we get back together and revisit our strategies and strat plans and look at progress. Love to see where we have any gaps tied to where we do have opportunities from an equity standpoint, I'd say, for people to be applying for funding and what those gaps are. And if we've created not for lack of good intent, areas where community not-for-profits doing good work like others don't have the same type of opportunity to bid for taxpayer dollars that we put on the table. So I'd love to kind of look at that in some way, whether that's finance or if that comes back through a commentary around how do we support our strategic directions and are there gaps in what we're creating as availability. I can't help but think about whether or not this ties back into water and wastewater, and so I think that, and just waste management. So I know Communities in Bloom, we had exceptional commentary by judges around the work that our landfill is doing around textile diversion. Residents love that program. Texas 35 years ago started this whole campaign through their transportation department called Don't Mess with Texas, and that was all about litter management, and it was incredible. So I can't help but think, is there anything here in the future by which there's a resident engagement piece that we can continue to build on and support in some way? And would love to kind of explore that pathway. So I can take that away, but I guess I'm commenting more about hearing that those are opportunities you've identified in your recommendation, But is there a role for the city to take this on more formally, use our wastewater calendar to signal a fall and spring event? And I'd love to see something like that taken forward. So I guess it would be, I'd love to carry the recommendations Jenna's put forward to us tonight. What would be the best table to do that in? Would that be infrastructure and growth, or infrastructure?
Through you, excuse me, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Congle. I would probably recommend Finance and Responsible Governance Committee, given that we're talking about possible funding for these groups. That's the venue for this conversation. And if something's to come forward, of course, it would probably have to come through as an item for discussion.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then my only kind of comment, I think you answered it, was I was going to ask about your interaction with the city. And thank you for highlighting that. And I would echo that compliment that Service Barrie and those picking up the garbage bags have been exceptionally responsive and quite kind in their service support to something that's been informal, but something that's been very active. So I do want to echo that the city has been a pretty amazing partner when it comes to supporting the work of Clean Up Barrie. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Congle. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Thanks for the presentation. First off, I'll start off by saying there's a lot of my Ward 5 residents that go out and clean up on their own, and I'll make sure I remind them to post it on Facebook, because they do it and it's just not posted. They do it because they love their community, and I think you guys did some in Lambton Lane, and it's, but there's residents that do. We get some blowover from the landfill on Edge Hill, and I've got a couple really dedicated residents, so I'll maybe let them know that they should be posting it a little bit more. The second thing is, who picks up all the garbage you collect?
City staff.
So
depending on the source of it.
Right, so you would notify where you pile it up, and then city staff come out and pick it up? Is that correct?
Yes.
And so maybe when this comes to finance, we could have maybe a cost associated to that as well, as, we are supporting this. Secondly, and I don't know how much they do it now, but I remember back in a lot of the King highways, well, they'd be Queen highways now, they would sponsor a highway. Have you ever looked at corporate sponsorship of walking trails or anything that would help financially, help volunteers? Like now the new curriculum in schools, kids need volunteer hours. Like these are great programs that, build community. I was just wondering if you had looked at those avenues.
Yes, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Ward Councillor Thompson. We have had a few high school students come do their volunteer hours. I give 2 hours for every one because no one wants to clean up garbage. They all want to take care of puppies for their volunteering. We're on the bottom of the list of who people want to volunteer for. But we have had some success with that. As you mentioned, the Adopt a Trail, that was a city program that is on hold. So that's why I brought it up as to what is going on with that program, because it was the city taking the charge on getting those people to adopt the trails and the roads. So for example, Eastview Secondary School has adopted a section of Penetang Machine Road. I don't think they've been out there in years, unless maybe they are going out there, but that's a section of road that I've cleaned up several times. So I don't know the status of that program, and I'm not about duplicating work and reinventing the wheel. If a program exists, then let's get it reignited if it's a city program. If it's the city something doesn't want to do, then Clean Up Barrie is more than happy to take that on. With some support from the city would be great. And I have reached out for corporate sponsorships. The thing is, as a volunteer organization and a not-for-profit, there are hundreds of organizations seeking donations and sponsorships. And you get lost in the weeds, honestly, with going around with your handout. Ideally, for Clean Up Barrie, what I would envision is a social enterprise model where you have a fee-for-service model that then supports your free community charitable actions.
Another thing too, and I haven't looked at it in a long time, but a lot of, like, I look at the one picture and it's Tim Hortons and McDonald's. I actually think they have a policy in being a good community partner, that if you call them, they'll actually come and pick up their own garbage. Has that ever been approached? Or like going right to the source? Yeah, I think it's, if you look at their company policies as being a good partner.
Yes. Have you ever tried to call someone at a large multinational organization? Because you're not going to get anybody except the customer service person. And for Tim Hortons, there are about 12 or 13 different owners for every Tim Hortons in the city of Barrie. I do not know their phone numbers. I do not know their emails. They are not published online. So if you know an owner of a McDonald's or a Tim Hortons, I will take their number and call them. I know, like, on a national level, they were sponsoring the Pitching Canada bags that you could get, that the city used to use for the Spring to Clean. They didn't use them this year. It was a different sponsorship I think the city had for those bags. But it's very difficult, again, even for, you know, a local business or, you know, a large organization to get that kind of support.
But further to your point, you know, it's franchisees, sorry, through you, Mayor Nuttall. Like, we have franchise owners, and, you know, most of them are at their locations. Like, you could probably just walk right in, and if they're not there at that moment, they'll be there tomorrow, or they bounce around and stuff. And to be honest, I don't think any corporate partner would like, you know, their pictures of this is where the garbage is coming from in the majority of Barrie. Like, I think they would like to be partnered to help that. So, you know, I think there's ways that, you know, council could help you with even that connection or
Sure.
reaching out. So, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to go with Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you, first of all, Ms. Slakehouse. I mean, what you've been able to do in a short period of time is really great, so I appreciate the effort, and congratulations, too, on having, I noticed, 13 partners and 5 big thank yous. The big thank yous were different, and they were a mix of businesses and community providers, so I think that's fabulous. And if I missed it, I apologize. And one of my questions was just captured by Deputy Mayor Thompson, which was the future of the group, and will it still be a volunteer organization that's led by volunteerism? And I think I heard you say that there would be a fee-for-service model in the future. And I also heard you say, and you're right, I mean, there's lots of organizations out there that are looking for sponsorship money, grants, and we know that. We know that, too, here at this table, because we're one of those sources. And just a little bit of kind of history is one thing that we started the Community Recreation Grant Fund because, again, people would come with wonderful activities and ideas and contributions to the city, but we had no good process for vetting them. So now we have an effective, efficient process where people can apply. We've got dedicated funding, so it's a fair process, not who gets the invitation, who gets in front of us, and who has that opportunity. So maybe to the point, there's something we can do on that. We have the same policy with arts and those kind of arts and culture. So I just going to offer that as we said, this side of the table, seeing incredible contributions to our community. And I think just last week we had yet another example of Zoe Bistroff, who is youth for Lake Simcoe. I see you nodding, so you know her. So incredible work, doing similar work, but around Lake Simcoe and collecting garbage to help our community. So she was here and was to say, hey, look what I'm doing. And yeah, I've just won an award. So I just offer that as from this side of the table when we see these opportunities, but really excited about the volunteerism and what it's done for our community. The pictures, they speak volumes, so thank you. Maybe one final question is, what do the partner supporters provide? What is it materials to be able to to actually function and do the work, to pick up the garbage? Is that what the partners offer and supporters?
Yes, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Harris. Sometimes it's in the form of volunteer hours. So, for example, RBC and Aviva, they encourage their employees to have so many volunteer hours every month. So, you know, they come out and they'll do a cleanup. Sometimes people provide supplies. Robinson's Home Hardware has given me gloves and bags. So it comes in a variety of forms, I would say. Mostly materials and volunteer hours.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the work of our counselors who connected with you. I know our last communication was I'd be happy to help with a cleanup in Ward 8, but we didn't get there. So maybe in the spring we can do that. I know that's something that, Ward 8 generally tends to show up for these kind of things, so I'd be happy to. I'm not a great Facebooker, so email works better, but. Well,
when that freezing rain melts out there, we'll get out and do one before the real snow comes.
Well, thank you for all the garbage you've picked up, litter you've picked up. That's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I'm extremely impressed at not just your presentation, but your answers to us. Usually when we have people present to us, they give us politically correct answers. So that, I don't even want to ask questions because I'm afraid I'm going to get it back. But no, I do genuinely appreciate that. So one of the things that you piqued my interest is with the recommendations slide. We don't have to put it up. I can just read it. One of it said, provide proper disposal in high traffic areas, change the bylaws. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, I think that was in reference to the cigarette butts, because say, for example, you're not allowed to smoke on any city property, parks, trails, in front of community centers, but it's littered with cigarettes because there's no place to put them. Johnson's Beach, I just was at East Bayfield Community Center on the weekend. It's cigarette butts all over when you walk in, and the city was hosting a swim meet. What are the people from out of town walking through to get to our community centers? And then when you have a designated smoking area, such as at the marina, there's not an actual place to put your cigarette butt. So again, it's the #1 most littered item. I, commend the work that the city has been doing around the marina and the litter traps in the downtown areas, capturing all that. And that's a fairly new program and has captured a lot. So imagine all the stuff we haven't been collecting for years and all the stuff that's coming in. So that's kind of a thing. I even made my own out of coffee containers and put them along the North Shore Trail, and they ended up going missing after a couple of days. But yeah, so it's mostly around that, and then like the high traffic areas. So bus stops, especially around high schools, like a lot of it, the high school students, they go to the plaza, they buy their lunch, it doesn't make it to the garbage. So there's a disconnect. I think that's happening there.
Interesting. Okay. People aren't allowed to do drugs, but the syringe disposals in some of our facilities. It's a tough discussion to have, but I know comparing it to cigarettes, we're not allowed to smoke in parks, but it happens anyways. So no, that's an interesting discussion. Thank you for clarifying that. Could you discuss the vacant land renewal program? You had that line in their vacant land renewal program. It was an idea because there's a lot of, especially in the downtown area, vacant lots waiting to be developed, and they're not going to be developed probably anytime soon. So they sit there with a big fence around them and they collect all kinds of garbage. So the program was really a pitch to the developers around and the city around utilizing those spaces as a public asset. So maybe it's a temporary picnic area or green space or something along those lines that the city can encourage developers, utilize the space, have it be used by the public. It provides a public good, and then when people are using it, it's not collecting illegal dumping because people are there, it's not collecting the litter, and honestly, it just makes everything look better because it's not a concrete parking lot being fenced off. Love it. No, I appreciate it. And Mayor Nuttall, if you remember a couple weeks ago, you and I went to an event and we were at the South Shore, and I pointed at the old way of doing recycling bins and then that new bin, which is, let me find the non-corporate name because it's a technology, and I'm not being biased towards one company. Give me a second here. They're called Semi-Underground Waste Containment Systems. So that's the non-corporate name. There's one brand that's kind of ubiquitous. So it's night and day. The garbage lives underground. It's rodent-proof. It's temperature-proof. It's smell-proof. Do you have a feedback on moving towards semi-underground waste containment systems, maybe in our parks and other kind of city facilities? More often known as Moloch bins.
Yes, they're still above ground, but slightly also yes, I think the city has quite a few of them, and they lift them out with a big crane, I believe. Are those the ones you're talking about? Yeah. They hold more, I guess, but I still, and don't have to be emptied as regularly. So like the ones that sit at the bus stops, apparently they're supposed to get emptied every Monday by the city's contractor. They're full within a week. More than a week, because I've definitely submitted service requests around.
The bus ones?
Yes.
The bus ones aren't underground though, right?
No, so they don't hold as much, I guess, is what my point is.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not there to begin with, it doesn't matter if it's underground or not, because there's
Mm-hmm.
no garbage container. Like, for example, along the North Shore Trail, you can walk from downtown to past, I think it's Kempenfeld Park, and there's not a single, there's like one garbage can, so you're walking almost like a kilometer, so you're wondering why it's there. I don't think the containment system prevents littering in terms of the style, but I would have to look into that more.
Okay, appreciate it. And this is my final question to staff. Similar to the question the other councilors were asking, they were asking more on the financing side, I guess, partnership. I'm asking more on from a city perspective, if council wanted, I guess maybe not a review of, what did I write down here? A review to research garbage receptacle options for city facilities and land. Is that something that would need to be like a council directive, or is that within either existing scopes that staff are already doing?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councilor Morales, I would say it's part of what we do already as part of our regular business. But if there were specific requests, we could look into those if there were specific requests related to specific locations.
Okay, perfect. And thank you for your presentation. Everybody sees something different. Like some of my colleagues saw the volunteer side and the financing. I didn't even see that. I saw the pictures, and I appreciate the people who do it, and I appreciate your work. I saw more like, can we affect capital and infrastructure? So this is why we have a council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Morales, and now Councilor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you, Ms. Lakehouse, for your presentation. Now, I know earlier you mentioned about dollars for support, and I know in the past the city has supported you with bags, gloves, that type of thing, because I know I actually dropped some off personally to your front door a couple of years ago too, because one of my colleagues reached out to me, and unfortunately it's a little more difficult to get a group together in Ward 7 to do this, but thankfully I do have a few dedicated retired residents that remind me every couple of weeks how much garbage they've picked up on their 5-kilometer daily walk. But when it comes to the dollar piece of it, if we're already providing you with bags and the capital side of stuff, where would the dollars be allocated? What would be the requirement for the cash flow when you're dealing with volunteers?
Yes, the amount of bags I think that were provided, I probably blow through in about a weekend. So if I'm cleaning up 500 bags in a year, like I'll definitely ask the city for 500 bags. I don't know if you want to give 500 bags, but it would definitely go towards more supplies. I would probably utilize it to continue our peer support program that we were piloting with Brian's Hope, to continue that program. So we're cleaning up garbage and giving a little bit of income to people who face barriers to employment. It just maybe help more with like marketing and promotion to get more volunteers to come participate in the events. So yes, for a volunteer-based organization that has next to zero budget, it would do wonders.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe leading up to any asks that would come to Finance Committee, though, maybe we can have a short conversation so that way things are a little more clear and aligned, so that way we can make the appropriate decisions moving forward with that. But the only other thing that I wanted to highlight, and this is where we got to watch that we don't breach provincial legislation, is the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. There's certain areas that we just can't put, like, I mean, you can't put an ashtray there because you're not legally allowed to smoke there. And so that would negate places like our parks, bus shelters, community centers, that type of thing. And then also, too, I know, especially when you're talking about the North Shore Trail, depending on where you put those garbage cans, they make it very difficult to access when it comes to actually cleaning up, too. And especially during the winter months, you'd probably need a snowmobile to get there. Mind you, our winters seem to keep getting milder and milder, but it is a lot more complicated than just saying that we need them in all these places. And then obviously there's a dollar amount associated with all that additional collection, because I know I've had a few places in my own ward that I've had to see about getting additional receptacles. And sometimes I get a yes, sometimes I get a no for various reasons. But thank you for your presentation, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Courser.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It has been a joy volunteering and helping with you in Ward 4. I actually really enjoy it. Picking up the garbage. I also like puppies too, but you know. Just a couple of questions. Regarding the partnership program with Barriers to Employment, where are you with this program now? How did that, was it funded before? Can you speak a little bit how that program worked? Because this is the details on that, maybe a little bit, please.
Yes, we had received a small grant, and I used the funds to purchase gift cards and would utilize the gift cards as a $25 an hour honorarium for people who would participate in the cleanup events. Events were on average an hour to 2 hours, because when you have 5 or so people, you can clean up a huge area in an hour. It's amazing what you can do when you have the people. So that program ran, we were doing it bi-weekly this summer. It ended at the end of October. It was great. We cleaned up way more garbage than if I would have without the program and the financial incentive. Like I mentioned in my presentation, people were excited to have a positive impact and feel like they were contributing to their community, have a sense of purpose and value, and just kind of negate a lot of the negative perceptions about certain members of the public, because a lot of people take a lot of pride in their city and in their home, and we're very appreciative of being able to participate and demonstrate that. So I hope we can do it again next year. Maybe expand to some more locations, but as I had mentioned, a lot of municipalities in the States utilize people who face barriers to employment to do beautification projects. And it's not just litter cleanup, it's graffiti removal, or maybe you're cleaning the flower beds, or that type of thing. And other cities in Ontario are utilizing this program and seeing a benefit, and I think Barrie could too.
Okay, and follow up, I guess, through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Bella. I'm not sure if I should be asking this of Bella or Mr. Miller. How much would it cost the city? And I'm not expecting a number, but I imagine that it's a significant savings to the city when organizations like this do the work. And if they weren't doing the work, would we have city employees that we pay out in the parks cleaning up? Like, what would be happening if these organizations weren't there?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Courser. So as part of our regular cleanup activities, we do clean up parks and city-owned areas. But obviously there's always more could be done, and we do work with volunteer organizations to supplement our activities. It would be hard for us to quantify what the actual savings are, but the operations team does work with organizations such as Clean Up Barrie, with supplying them with the necessary materials and also picking up the waste that's collected. So I would say the activities of the volunteer organizations supplement what we do, but we do have regular programs to keep the city clean.
Just another follow-up, if I may, what percentage would you say that the city contracts out to private companies, and what percentage in-house? Is all of the park cleanups in the City of Barrie employees, or is there a contract out to private companies?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Koser, all of the cleanup activities are done by the city. What we contract out is some of the waste collection tasks or activities. But most of the cleanup involving, people and is done by the city staff.
Okay, does that include?
Sorry, just before we continue, Mr. CAO, I think you wanted to interject.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Just to add to that, in fact, when we're dealing with encampments, the city does use a licensed and authorized waste and collection company because of the nature of the type of waste that could be removed from an encampment. So though for that specialized cleanup, we do use a contractor, not city crews.
Okay, yeah, so is the, when you talk about the beautification program and barriers to employment, would that include encampment? Would that include our neighbors that are unhoused?
Sorry, just to clarify, in terms of using the program to clean up encampments?
Yes.
The only time that I've, through our pilot program, utilized volunteers is working with the individuals that live there as to not bring outside volunteers into an area that could increase risk or liability. So it's only been working with the people that live there but require the support such as removal, gloves, bags, and that's where I've come in to assist them with kind of keeping that area clean on a proactive basis.
So that would be empowering our residents that are unhoused to keep their own areas clean, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Also, another question, for the private properties, like I want to outline specifically in my ward, and I know we probably all have stories. Behind the Bayfield Mall, where the parking lot gets completely piled up of garbage, especially in the spring, after the thaws, and Walmart parking lot with the Walmart and the McDonald's and all the garbage that accumulates there. I know that bylaw enforcement is on a complaint basis, so they, my understanding is, please correct me, staff, please, that they are reactive as opposed to proactive. Is there any programs that the city has? Because what happens is, of course, these areas get piled up with so much litter, and then a good wind comes through and it pours into our boulevards, our sidewalks, our parks. And is there anything that we can do proactively to ensure that these areas, these private properties, are actually held accountable for the garbage that they have, or some kind of program that we can put in place for that? I'm not sure who I'd be asking for that. I've asked Miss McAlpine, but she is not here right now. So, oh, and there she appears. Hello, Miss Alpine.
Thank you. Through Mayor Nuttall to Councillor Corser, Certainly, if sufficient resources were provided, enforcement services could move from a reactive basis to a proactive basis with respect to properties where debris is occurring. We have done that in residential areas with the additional resources that were approved by council. As it is challenging to address litter that may have blown from a property onto another area with any type of charges that would be that could be withstood in the courts.
Oh, is there, maybe we can at another time discuss maybe some kind of plan that we can put forth that would be proactive with all parties involved. Another discussion about that another time, I guess. Thank you. And the long-term waste strategy, 2012 was like 11 years ago, and I'm just wondering if there's anything on the docket for actually revisiting the long-term waste strategy. Is there any discussions? Have they come up around the table at all in the back rooms with staff?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Coser, the sustainable waste management strategy has not been updated since 2012. Having said that, in 2020, we did implement the circular economy framework, and that has enhanced and supplemented our strategy. Having said that, staff are of the opinion that in the next few years we do need to update the strategy, and our plan right now is to insert a project in 2025 to review and update the waste management strategy. Oh, sorry, the waste strategy.
Yeah, and thank you. And that waste strategy would address or try to address litter within our city. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor Coser, although the focus of that study is to to address collection and disposal of waste, but it would generally address the litter too, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm done grilling everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. Amazing presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation this evening. I have one quick question before you go. What's the number for the program that you ran to provide the gift cards to individuals who help clean up their environment?
Sorry, what was the number?
Yeah, what was the cost? What was the gross amount?
Oh, I think it was maybe $5,000.
$5,000?
Yeah.
And
to be run from, I think we started June to October, approximately every other Friday.
Okay, so it's $5,000 for essentially the summer plus, like maybe 5 months, something like that.
Yeah, that was, supplies, the gift cards, didn't really cover any time. Takes a lot of time to coordinate and organize and things like that. So, but yeah, it was mostly material costs and the gift cards. It was probably at least 50% of the cost of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for all the work that you've done in the community. I think there's going to be some future conversations on this going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of Council, that concludes our presentations. We're now at inquiries. Deputy Mayor Thompson. Any other inquiries around the table this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to announcements. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
I have none.
Councillor Kungle.
Thank you, through Mayor Nuttall. I imagine you'll be talking about the Remembrance Day ceremony. So I just wanted to, again, echo many compliments coming in, so thank you to staff. the cenotaph in the downtown area and all the different contributions that have happened there. The public is paying attention, and I know it's a nice compliment that I hear at the Legion. And again, on Saturday, inviting the public, however you may be spending the day, hopefully you're able to take a moment to participate in this Remembrance Day parade and ceremony in some way. But if you can, the Legion is inviting the public to the Legion on Ferris Lane after the ceremony. So if you're able to, please make sure that whether you're a member or not, the public is welcome to the Legion. My second announcement is that we have on Sunday, on the 12th, a fundraiser happening in partnership with the Shoebox to put together shoe boxes actually for individuals across the area, including Barrie. So if you're available, join me at 2 o'clock for a Barrie Sharks game at the East Bayfield Community Centre. Those lovely ladies are participating. They've done some great work around outreach, supporting breast cancer awareness and other pieces. They are supporting the 10th year of the Shoebox. So if you want more information about putting together a package and dropping it off at the East Bayfield Community Centre on Sunday morning, please visit the website shoeboxproject.ca. You can donate towards that or put together an actual shoebox with items. And this year, while I know it's been marketed for women and supporting women who might be isolated or in a challenging time through the holiday season coming up, these are non-gender focused boxes. So please do support where you're able to or share that news. And again, thank you to Shannon Murray, who's been sponsoring that for the past 10 years. I think that's it for me. I've got a circ list item, but we're not addressing it. Okay. Last point might be a question of staff, but I think I missed it. Okay, I'll hold. Circulation's next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kunkel. And I think, is the Shoebox campaign, was that Minister Mulroney, Caroline Mulroney, that I think first came and launched it in Barrie? Is that right?
Oh, good memory. I'm not aware of the history of
I think I might have launched it with her.
Oh, well, I hope to see you on Sunday with the Shoebox, Mayor Nuttall.
I think I looked a lot thinner and younger then.
Big shoebox.
Yes, I can't even think of a response to that, to the Deputy Mayor. It is an incredible program that helps a lot of people. So thank you to Shannon, and thank you to any of the volunteers in the community who are helping with that. Any other announcements around the table? Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. This is in relation to Bill 142, once it gets passed. I think it's only fitting to congratulate Derek Wilson as being promoted to Deputy Fire Chief from Assistant Deputy Fire Chief. Obviously, he's been with the organization for a few years now and has taken on key roles and will now assume the Deputy Chief of Operations. So congratulations, Derek, and we look forward to working with you. I just figured it was important to highlight it before we got to the bills because it probably would have got lost in the shuffle.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Councillor Harvey. And certainly echo those congratulations. Any other announcements? Councillor Nixon.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, I would just quickly like to announce that on Monday, November the 20th, there will be a Ward 2 Town Hall meeting right here in the Rotunda downstairs. Mayor Nuttall and I will be here, as well as Chief Johnson, members from our bylaw enforcement team, and also some people from Simcoe County in the social community services. So there's no specific agenda, but if anyone has any comments, questions, anything they'd like to ask that evening, come on down. I believe it starts at 6:30 p.m., but all the information will be on the City Hall website. And even if you just want to come down and tell us what a great job we're doing, that's okay too. So, yeah.
They'll be lined up out the door.
They'll be lined up out the door, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon. Any other announcements around the table? Seeing none, before I go into my formal announcements, I've been it's been whispered in my ear that one of our student mayors is the granddaughter of Dave Reed, who used to work here at City Hall. I'm not sure, was Dave Reed around when you were here, Councillor Morales? You sitting in the audience? Hey, there you are, sir. So it wasn't that big of a whisper because you're sitting in the audience and I didn't realize. So I thought that was pretty neat when that was texted to me by our CAO. So it's kind of cool to see that connection. We're now going to move into the announcements. So there's quite a few. I'm going to start and kind of go out of order here with relation to Remembrance Day, which I think will be one that everyone in the community will want to know. So this Saturday, a vigil will actually start on Friday, November 10th from 7 p.m. to midnight, and the 11th from 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., where we'll have 5 cadets. They will be rotating shifts, standing vigil at the Cenotaph. And then the Remembrance Day parade itself is on November 11th at 10 a.m., starting along Dunlop and Mulcaster Streets and march to 5 Points intersection, halting in front of the Cenotaph in Memorial Square. 2 minutes of silence will be observed as part of the ceremony at 11 a.m. and following the ceremony, followed by the ceremony and laying of the wreaths. As Councillor Kungl mentioned, the Legion is open over on Ferris Lane after that, and individuals in the community and families are welcome to join the Legion without the need to have a membership to the Legion. It's always a really nice opportunity. I remember as a kid, my mom used to take me there. It was a really nice opportunity to meet individuals who served our country and given us the peace that we enjoy so much here in Canada. Each year on November 8th, since 1949, planners in over 30 countries celebrate World Town Planning Day. Professional planners work in our community in a variety of places: conservation authorities, school boards, the County of Simcoe, consulting firms, and here at the City of Barrie, we employ many professional planners in different departments. Today is an International Day celebrating the accomplishments of professional planners and their contributions to communities. So Michelle, if you can pass a congratulations and note on to the team, that would be incredible. Also, Michelle, this is like one of the few meetings we've had where you haven't been grilled with questions all evening, so we're celebrating too. Yeah, you got the easy night tonight. The road closure at Mackay Road West and Veterans Drive is being extended and will remain closed without any access until July of next year due to delays from the complex infrastructure utility work. The existing detours remain in place until the project is complete. For further information and detour routes, please visit barrie.ca/Mackay Road West and Veterans Drive improvements. The 2023 Barrie Arts Awards Gala will be held on Tuesday, November 14th at the McLaren Arts Centre from 6:30 to 10:30. Come and celebrate the arts and culture sector's many successes the past year and the contributions made by our local talent. For more information about the gala, visit barrie.ca/2023 Barrie Arts Awards. The City of Barrie continues to seek public feedback on new action items to update the affordable housing strategy. A drop-in open house is being held on November 9th in the City Hall Rotunda at 70 Collier Street from 3:30 to 6. The online survey is open until November 13th. For more information and to share feedback, visit barrie.ca/affordable housing. The next Affordability Committee and General Committee meetings will be held on November 15th, 2023. And finally, this isn't in my notes, but it's something we're just finalizing right now. There will be a town hall held by myself as part of the process for comment on our official plan that's been opened back up for comment by the provincial government on November the 22nd. That's two weeks tonight. Members of the public will be invited to make comment with regards to the original official plan that's been approved by council on the previous term of council, as well as any changes that were then made by the provincial government subsequently, or anything that exists, quite frankly, within the City of Barrie at all. Secondly to that, because we're going to be opening up for comment, I'm going to ask each member of council to provide comment with regards to the official plan inside of your ward. So whatever ward you represent, if you have comments with regards to the city's official plan that affect your ward, please make sure you share them with me, and we'll make sure that they get added into all of the commentary for the city. And once we've compiled all of that information from the public meeting, that's not a public meeting, it's a town hall. Public meeting needs 30 days notice, and we don't have that time. So town hall, once we compile all the information alongside all of the comments back from members of council for your respective wards, that will all be formulated, put into a letter to the provincial government, to Minister Calandra, outlining what we have heard on top of the different iterations of the official plan that have come forward. So please do take the time if you see things inside of your ward that you want dealt with, and get them over to me, because I will pass them on to the provincial government. And finally, that process we will be delivering the remarks to Minister Calandra in written form by December the 7th. Is that correct? December the 7th? And at that point, I'll make sure that every member of council has that letter that I'm going to provide to the minister. So you have a copy of it, as well as we'll make it open to the public through the media, or maybe through our website as well. More to follow on that. We have to have it before the 7th, yes. Yeah. I think this, by the 7th was what the letter thing said, I think. Is that correct? Yes. At the point that we're giving it to the provinces, when we'll make it public to absolutely everybody. Okay. Now we will move on to the bylaws. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Rima, that leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be read a first, second, and third time on this day and finally passed. Bill 134, 135, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, and 142.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Riepma, that leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be ready first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bills 134, 135, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, and 142. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the bills? Seeing none, all those in favor? And it carries. Deputy Mayor?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Rima. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time on this day and finally passed. Bill 143.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Riepma, that leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be ready first, second, third, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 143, the confirmation bylaw. All those in favor? And it carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Riepma, seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson. All those in favor? It carries unanimously. It's 9:06 p.m. and we are adjourned.
You guys did great.